So, what if I told you that a simple guide to breaking in a new pair of sandals was secretly a manual for oppression? We're about to dive into a poem that sounds totally innocent on the surface, but as you'll see, it's hiding something way, way darker.
Okay, here it is. How to Tame a New Pair of Chappals by Gopal Honnalgere. Now, chappals are just a type of sandal, and the title sounds pretty straightforward, right? Kind of helpful, almost like something you'd find in a blog post. So what are the big instructions for taming them?
The very first rule is don't leave them together. Okay. That's a little weird. Why would that even matter?
Because they might talk. And boom, right there, with just 3 words, we know this is not your average instruction manual. We've just stepped into a completely different kind of world.
And the bizarre rules just keep on coming. We're told you have to keep them away from an older, more, experienced pair. You can almost feel a sense of fear here, a fear of what these new sandals might learn if they start whispering to each other.
So, yeah, what starts off feeling like a practical guide quickly turns into this really strange set of instructions. The poem is written in the tone of a simple manual, but the things it's telling you to do are, well, they're deeply unsettling.
The main tool the poem is using here is something called anthropomorphism. It's a big word, but it just means treating non-human things like they're human. The poem doesn't see these sandals as objects. It treats them like they are living, thinking beings that could, start a rebellion.
And that shift is exactly what makes the poem so powerful. It kicks off with what seems like a funny little idea, but it rapidly darkens into a lexicon of control and manipulation. Suddenly, we're not talking about footwear anymore. We're talking about power.
This is the real turning point, where the whole vibe just changes. That little bit of humor you felt at the beginning starts to fade, and this feeling of genuine unease starts creeping in. You can feel the playful tone just curdle.
You can actually map out that feeling. We start out thinking, oh, this is a whimsical little guide, kind of cute, but then the poem keeps hammering you with don't, and it creates this rhythmic pulse of paranoia. The amusement disappears, and you're left with this feeling of a hidden threat. The guide starts to feel a lot more like a paranoid regime.
Let me just ask you, did you feel that? That exact moment when the joke stops being funny and you get this sinking feeling that you're reading about something really sinister?
So how in the world does the poem pull off this chilling effect? To really get it, we need to look at the language itself, the actual words and the tone it uses to build this little world of control.
The speaker's voice is everything. It's so flat and demanding, like a dictator giving orders. Don't do this, don't do that. It's not trying to convince you of anything. It's designed to stop you from even thinking. And just beneath that cold, confident surface, you can feel this deep, simmering anxiety.
I mean, this isn't just a poem anymore. It's basically a 3-step guide to psychological manipulation. Step 1, isolate them. Classic. Step 2, censor all information. Keep them away from the news, away from dangerous ideas. And then step 3, and this might be the most twisted part, you mask your control as an act of care. Rubbing oil on the straps seems nice, right? But the poem says it's only for your own comfort.
So by now, I think it's pretty clear we're not just talking about shoes. The whole poem is an allegory. The Chappals are a stand-in for something much, much bigger.
The Chappals represent an entire oppressed class of people. The poem literally calls them good, subdued laborers. All of a sudden, the simple act of putting on sandals becomes this powerful, really disturbing metaphor for exploitation.
And you can see this idea build when you look at what the speaker is most afraid of. A portrait of Gandhi, the national flag, law books, newspapers. I mean, these are symbols of freedom, justice, and truth. But in the world of this poem, they're treated like they're dangerous, subversive materials. The message is pretty clear. Power is terrified of knowledge. So after that whole long list of don'ts, the poem takes a sharp turn. The instructions are over, and the speaker makes this final, chilling declaration. The taming process is officially complete.
Now, they are good, subdued laborers ready to work overtime. The switch to "now they are" is so important. It's a declaration of victory. But just listen to those words. Subdued doesn't mean calm. It means their spirit has been completely crushed. And good? That just means they're compliant.
And then the final line lands like a punch to the gut. For your fat feet.
It's this grotesque, really visceral image of lazy, comfortable privilege literally resting on the backs of the oppressed.
But the poem doesn't just leave you there. After taking you on that whole journey, it kind of turns into a mirror. And it forces us to ask some really uncomfortable questions about power, about control, and maybe about our own place in all of it.
Seriously, think about it. When the poem says you, who is it talking to? Is it the master inside the poem, or is it talking to us, to the person reading it, making us part of this whole act of domination?
And what about that moment of supposed happiness, when you finally take the sandals off? Is that really happiness? Or is it just a carefully controlled illusion? Just a form of engineered consent to keep the whole system going smoothly?
Which brings us to the final, huge question. Is this poem a how-to guide for being a tyrant? Or is it a desperate warning about the psychology of power and the constant fear that drives the dominator? And that's the genius of it. It doesn't give you an easy answer. It just asks you to look at the systems all around you and decide for yourself.